So this video will be on classification of matter. So we're going to start with some vocabulary, and it helps to understand the vocabulary so when we look at the pictures it makes a little bit more sense. So don't forget that that triple equal sign is a sign of a definition. So if we look up the definition of an atom is a particle of matter that uniquely defines a chemical element. Now, if we want to look at molecule, it is a group of two or more atoms that form the smallest identifiable unit into which a pure substance can be divided and still retain the composition and chemical properties of that substance. And so we are going to be looking in a little bit about chemical properties as well. Now, an element, if we define that, is a group of two or more atoms that form the smallest identifiable unit into which a pure substance can be divided and still retain the composition, and notice there should be a space, and chemical properties of that substance. And then a compound, you're going to have more than one element together. And a substance is a matter which has a specific composition and specific properties. And what I should add is that a substance really is an element or a compound. Okay, substances are elements or compounds. So I want you to be able to draw pictures, and they're called particulate diagrams of atoms and molecules and mixtures and compounds and all these different things. So you can see here on the left, this is pictures of an atoms of an element, and it's just showing spheres. Now, when we're drawing atoms, later on, you may want to look at the size of an atom once you know the different sizes. So, for example, I know that lithium might be that size versus a compound that is a little bit larger. If we go down the periodic table, if we look at the bottom of the periodic table, they're going to be a little bit bigger. So later on, we may want to worry about the actual size of the atoms, but for right now, we're okay with just a circle. Now, molecules of an element, notice these have been bonded together. So it's two circles together, and I want you to realize that Hofbrinkel, F2Br2, I want you to know this phrase well. What this means is hydrogen, oxygen, fluorine, bromine, iodine, nitrogen, and chlorine. These are diatomic molecules, meaning they like to bond to themselves. And so it would look like that picture of letter B. Now, molecules of a compound, now we're going to have two kinds of an atoms. So notice that. So here we have 1, 2, 3 green guys attached to one blue guy. So there's different kinds of compounds. Maybe that's something like water, carbon dioxide, sodium chloride. Okay, so compounds are going to be more than one element. And what we're going to get into later is molecules are covalently bonded, and then ionically bonded will have metals in it. So it'll be a little bit different. Now, mixtures of elements and a compound. So here's just showing how we can mishmash everything together in one picture, and that makes a mixture. So I put this it's kind of like a Venn diagram in here to kind of show the difference of elements, molecules, and compounds and atoms and how they relate. And so I think this can help with understanding the differences between them. Now, we could classify matter using this flowchart. So notice that atoms and molecules make up matter. Okay, and all matter can exist as either a substance or as a mixture. Substances can be further divided again to elements and compounds. And notice we have particulate diagrams here to show what that looks like. And then our mixtures can be subdivided into homogeneous or heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous is a mixture that you really can't tell it's a mixture. These tend to be solutions. So like in class, you'll use a clear solution, and it is actually a homogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous mixture, we can clearly tell that there is more than one component. And I would think of something like Italian salad dressing. Okay, so here I have the definition of a homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture. And then I also want you to be aware of what a solute and a solvent is. And these make up a solution. So a solution is made up of a solute and a solvent. Solute is the minor component in a solution. It is the thing that's dissolved in the solvent, and it's the thing that is less. The solvent is the thing that is more. It's able to dissolve other substances, and water is a universal solvent. So when in doubt, your solvent is probably water. Okay, so here I have the definition of a solution. I also put the definition of a colloid and a suspension, which we'll also talk about next semester. So colloid, the definition, is a homogeneous non-crystalline substance consisting of large molecules or ultramicroscopic particles of one substance dispersed through a second substance. The key that I would look at is looking at the examples. And this includes things like gels and the thing I like to talk about next semester is gravy is a colloid, or mayonnaise is a colloid. So it's a mixture of a bunch of stuff, but you can make it fall out of solution through heat and adding acids and things like that. The suspension is now a heterogeneous mixture. So notice homogeneous, here's heterogeneous, in which solute-like particles settle out of a solvent-like phase. So suspension, I like to think of like a sand-water mix or a gravel mix or Italian salad dressing, how that Italian spice level will fall out of suspension, and then you have that kind of that oil layer. That is a suspension. So it'll fall out of suspension in time, unlike your mayonnaise. So here's just another table of looking at classifying matter. And so here we're looking at mixture and substance. Can it be physically separated? If the answer is yes, then you do have a mixture, which we can further subdivide into homogeneous and heterogeneous. And then notice then heterogeneous mixtures can be further subdivided into colloids and suspensions. On the other side, if it's a pure substance, because it cannot be physically separated, then can it be chemically separated? In which case, if it can, it is a compound versus an element. So I do have some practice with this, and there is a key associated with it. So that will just help you in different ways that you can see how questions are asked related to classification of matter. I also have put some videos here as well that can help you with understanding this.